Greetings, I'm Barrett, and welcome to Meet Me at the Table. We are continuing our playthrough of Middara, and in the last video we were able to successfully get through our first encounter, which tells us to continue to Wrong Way. Now before I move to Wrong Way, I'm actually going to set up our next encounter. I've actually already done the narrative part of this. I'm just going to tack it on to the end of this, and that way I knew which encounter we were going to be playing next. Because as this game goes, it might branch into different encounters based on how the narrative turns out. Now again, if you don't want to know anything about the narrative, I'm going to at least set up the encounter, and then from there you can go ahead and click the link that I will put up in the top of the video up here, and that'll take you to the encounter for the next video. Do you want to see what's going to happen to our brave adventurers in the next encounter? To find out, I need you to meet me at the table.
Hello, good morning. Open up your eyes. Hello, good morning. The magic's still inside. Never loved you more than I do now. Living in a sentimental city, right next to an evil town. Hello, good morning. Open up your eyes. Hello, good morning.
I'm going to start by reading this little text up here. Somebody had mentioned that I actually didn't read this in the first video, and that's true, I didn't. So they were hoping I would do it in this one. All right, it says, a small pond stands between you and a ferocious Griveradon. Your sudden approach must have drawn its attention, and the creature now growls in your direction. In the dark, you can hear the clicking of cave sickles somewhere in the distance. Hopefully, if nobody gets too close, the cave sickles won't even realize anyone is here until the Griveradon has been killed. The setup is going to include UM3, UM5, UM7, and UM13. I'm also going to need 3 cave sickles and a Griveradon. Now my win condition will be if all opponents are defeated, and of course our lose condition is if all the adventurers are defeated. Our loot level is going to be mundane, so I'm again going to create a combatant loot deck of the mundane set. There isn't actually any loot in this whole encounter, and they have special encounter rules again, grading. This encounter of the Mast will grade you on your combat performance. Record the score you earned during this encounter in the notes section of the adventure sheet. Your score for each encounter can never fall below 0. So I get 2 points for each cave sickle, and I get 5 if I defeat that Griveradon. And for each of our adventures defeated, we lose 5. Also, during the storybook, they also have these tips that come in quite helpful sometimes. This one says flanking and terrain. Proper positioning is everything. Figures may never dodge while in water. Use this to your advantage when fighting an opponent who dodges a lot. Be careful though. This restriction also applies to you. If you're having a hard time hitting an opponent, don't forget to flank. See page 50 of the rulebook for a refresher on flanking. So I've got our tiles laid out, and our swarm of cave sickles is going to go down first. And it tells us to put cave sickle 1 there, number 2 here, and number 3 here. And again, I've got them color-coded by the way I've painted their bases. The next thing I have to do is put down my Griveradon, or whatever. So here's that guy. He's all painted up. Now I painted his base purple, because you can have a purple one, and you could also have a red one. So I've got them both painted up, but to signify which one's which, I've painted their base. All right, so we're going to take him, and he is going to go right here. Now, since this is a new intelligent combatant, I thought I'd quickly go over his card. All right, here's his card. There's his name, and over here it says that he is a danger rating of 4, which is a lot tougher than our 1 for our cave sickles. All right, he is ferocious. At the start of his turn, he's going to gain a courage token, and the courage token is right here. It looks like this on this side, and on the back side it says courage, passive. Stars, shields, and books add +1 physical damage. Discard this if you miss an attack. So if he doesn't miss, he keeps hitting, he gets to keep this. Not to mention at the beginning of his turn, he's going to get a new one. Oh man, that doesn't sound good. It also says adrenaline. Each time the Griveradon is attacked, it will counter with an attack at up to reach 2. Oh, that's going to, wow, this guy seems so much tougher than the cave stickle already. And it says the first time each turn the creature is attacked, it dodges. Now, I've decided to stop saying his name because I think I'm pronouncing it wrong. So we're just going to call it creature and everything like that. And then here is its AI steps. It says, is there an opponent adjacent? Yes. Make an attack, then move to be up to reach 2 from the farthest opponent within movement range. And then make an attack within reach 2. Notice none of these are follow-ups. All that happens. Okay. It also says if that doesn't happen, is there an opponent within reach 2? If so, make an attack within reach 2 with a follow-up of pull 2. So I'm going to pull him right into this guy. Oh, that's going to be terrible. All right. And then the last one is it says, can it move and attack an opponent within reach 2? If so, then I'm going to move to be at up to reach 2 from the nearest opponent. Then make an attack within reach 2. Then move to be up to reach 2 from the farthest opponent within movement range. And then make an attack within reach 2. Oh my goodness, this thing's just going to be bouncing all over the board. All right. And it gets +2 armor piercing. So I don't actually have any armor, so it's not the end of the world. But if I had armor, I wouldn't be able to use it. Now, he does get to use a white and teal conviction die. He doesn't have any casting dice. And look at his stats over here. 12 health, 11 defense. Wow, I hope I bring those dice I brought from the last encounter. And he's got 6 movement, no armor. And he gets to use the teal dice, which are going to be better than the orange dice, I believe. So now on the board, you'll notice there are no exits, no loot tokens, no nothing. We just have to defeat the opponents. All right, so we're going to go ahead and place our figures down. I think we're going to put Remy in the back. We're also going to put Nightingale in the back. This time we're going to put Rook kind of up towards the front because I've noticed he doesn't exactly move all that fast. We're going to put him over there, and we're going to put Zeke right next to him. There we go. So now that our encounter is all set up, it's time to go ahead and read the narrative. If you don't want to know anything about the narrative, now's your chance to click the button right up here. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to know what happens and why we're here, it's time to listen to the narrative. Wrong way. Rook knocked on the thick stone slab with the butt of his weapon. The sound echoed like a massive stone drum. No way we're getting through that. Nightingale glared at the obstruction, kicking weakly at it. Damn it! Did we take a wrong turn? She glanced over her shoulder at where Zeke and Remy watched. Seems that way. Rook lowered his weapon. Remember, this whole thing is coordinated. Hundreds of candidates are going through the same test. The monsters aren't wild. They have to release them for us in each area, or else we'll have nothing to fight. The twists and turns are just another part of the mast. It looks like they can seal up passages with these big stone panels. Zeke dug around in one of his pockets, coming up with a cigarette. Translation? We're too awesome for this test. They want us to slow down so they can spend time on the teams that suck. Looks like it, Rook grinned as he gestured back down the way they'd come. I think I saw a good place to camp back there. At least we aren't sucking, Remy offered, shrugging one of her wings. I'd rather be the group they have to slow down than the one that fails. Continue to Setting Up Camp, page 9. Setting up camp. This looks like a good spot. Remy tried to sound enthusiastic. The cavern they had chosen to spend the night in had a ceiling at least 20 feet up. Damp stalactites glittered in the light of their glowstones, occasionally dripping water. Even so, most of the floor was dry and flat enough to serve their needs. I like it. Rook gestured ahead with one meaty hand. Only one other way out. Should be easy to keep watch. We don't have to stop. Nightingale hurried past Remy into the cavern. Wouldn't it be sweet if we were the first team ever to finish the mast in just one day? Yeah. Zeke stopped right in the middle of the cave, sloughing off his heavy pack. It dropped with a dull thud at his feet. But we won't. If we tried to keep going without resting... He shook his head. Better to finish a little slower and keep all our limbs. Remy needed no further encouragement to drop her pack. Tossing it to the ground, she closed her eyes, letting her massive wings stretch and flex. It felt fantastic, at least until she felt them smack something. Ow! Zeke yelped. Sorry. Remy blushed, retreating a little. I didn't mean to. Nah, it's nothing. Zeke shrugged, wiping a feather off his cheek. It's better than being slapped by Knight's tail. I haven't done that in ages. Nightingale frowned at him. He returned the scowl with a wide grin, and she turned away, looking around. Guess I'll start the fire. I can help. Rook set his bag down at his feet, fishing around for a few seconds, pulling out a set of flint and steel. I'd like to do it, Nightingale said with excitement as she took the tools from Rook. The mast is supposed to prepare us for whatever Middara can throw at us. That means no shortcuts. Rook then pulled out another set of tools, some sticks and tinder. No shortcuts? He asked wearily, holding the objects out toward her. Nightingale sighed. Flint and steel counts as a shortcut, huh? Rook only smiled back. Okay, fine, she said, swapping what she had with Rook. Then she got to work getting the fire started. Remy frowned, thinking desperately of what she could do. The other members of the team all seemed to know each other already, but they barely knew her name. She was determined to pull her weight through the rest of the mast. I could set up the sleeping bags. Remy looked down at their little pile of supplies. Sure. Zeke was the last to separate. Weapon in hand, I'll scout the rest of the cave, just in case. So we've come to our first skill check inside the adventure book. It says make a perception 10 check with Zeke. So only Zeke can make this check. And it says success. If he passes, continue to check out the loot, page 9. If he fails, continue to cozy fire on page 10. Now we get to do our first story skill check. Zeke is going to make a perception 10 check. So we're going to look at his stats down here. He's got a 6 perception. What we're going to do is take 2 purple dice. Now, I did a skill check during the encounter of our last video, and I actually did it wrong, and I want to make sure everybody understands how to do these. This is not a conviction check. That was where I made my mistake. This is a skill check. A skill check states that you roll 2 purple dice, add your skill, and determine if it's equal or higher than the number they're asking you to try to beat. In this case, it's 10. So we're going to roll 2 purple dice and add 6 and see how it goes. Come on, Zeke. Zeke got an 8. So 8 plus 6 is definitely enough to make that skill check. So let's go ahead and see what happens. All right, we get to go to check out the loot. It says, Zeke walked the perimeter of the cave, scraping along the rock with a wooden pole he had taken from their camping supplies. Where the gloom concealed, he used the pole to check for danger. There was no way to guess what the proctors might try to throw at them. Giant rats set loose into the cave while they slept? Pipes to flood the cave? Whatever the Atlantean Institute had planned for them, Zeke intended to be ready. He didn't find any secret passages, hidden traps, or insidious ways to torment them in their sleep. As he neared the end of the search, he struck a section of rough wall that thumped strangely when he hit it just right. Hey guys, I think there's something here, he called back before dropping onto his knees and feeling around the wall. After a few seconds, he felt a little lever give way under his touch. Zeke flinched, half expecting a trap, but instead, a thin facade retreated from the wall, revealing a tight-wrapped bundle. He kicked gingerly at it, sending it rolling out of the opening and onto the floor in front of him without exploding, shooting acid or sending spikes at him through the floor. He grinned, lifting up the tightly wrapped bundle of burlap and holding it up for the rest of the team to see. Hey everybody, I found a care package. Nice work, Rook called, not rising from his work around their makeshift fire pit. They must have hidden supplies like this for the groups who actually pay attention. Reward. The party gains 4 random mundane consumables. Continue to cozy fire on page 10. All right, to make this random, I'm actually just going to draw these from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, well, it looks like stuff we've all had in the past. All right, we got a vitality. Well, let's turn them this way. We've got throwing knives. Those I'm going to keep. We've got magic balm. It says discard, remove an effect from an ally within sphere of influence. Well, that might be kind of good. We do have our discard. This, it'd say, what is it? The super hyper energy HP potion. An ally within sphere of influence heals 3 and gains 1 stamina point. Oh, I think that might be in the keeper pile. And then we also have vitality juice box again, where I can discard for you or an adjacent ally heals 3. All right, now we can only hold 3 mundane consumables for each person. Now, Remy has 3. Zeke, on the other hand, only has 1. And Nightingale only has 1. So that means those people can each gain 1. And Rook actually has 2 open slots because he's holding 2. And it says on his card that he's able to carry an extra consumable. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to give our throwing knives back to Zeke. We're going to give the Hyper Energy HP potion. I think we're going to give that to Zeke as well. So now he has 3 consumables. The only 2 left is our juice box and our magic balm. I think we're going to give the juice box. Now Rook's got those healing things. We're going to give him the magic balm. Why not? He's already got one of those. Let's give the magic balm to Nightingale, and he is going to take the vitality juice box. Remy worked diligently, not bothering to keep her wings folded behind her as she laid out sleeping mats and put the bedrolls atop them. The others were all relaxing now after their intense day, but Remy hadn't complained. She would show them how useful she could be. Without the shelter of a tent, Remy laid tripwires across each entrance. She didn't think the Institute would plan an attack in the middle of the night, but she wasn't going to rule it out. Rook's voice rumbled from the fire circle. "That's right, not too much." He sat on a large rock, watching Nightingale. She puffed on a ball of smoldering kindling, and soon the fistful of plant fibers started to smoke. "Get it into the rest of the wood, quick!" She did, and soon the little fire roared to life. That wasn't that hard. Nightingale wiped her hands against her shirt. "Is roughing it always this easy?" "Easy? It took you 20 minutes to light the fire," Zeke said. Since returning from the scouting excursion, he'd watched as Nightingale and Rook struggled to get the fire lit. Nightingale only shrugged and grinned at him. Another 20 minutes later, and they were all gathered around the fire, resting on the ring of rubble they'd made and sharing bowls of camp stew. Remy felt much better with hot food in her stomach and a merry fire crackling nearby. Nightingale smiled apprehensively. "This is great stuff, Remy. I never thought camp food could taste so good." Remy looked away, though she couldn't keep the pride from her face. "I used to cook for my little brothers and sisters all the time. Half the time we had less in the cupboards than the Academy gave us to work with here." Nightingale looked up, understanding in her eyes. "My family back on Earth didn't have a lot either. And now we're in the middle of Middara." Zeke's voice was more subdued as he sipped the broth from his bowl. "What we had on Earth isn't what we have here. Another few days, and we'll all be citizens. We'll be able to leave the Academy whenever we want, buy anything we want, choose where to work." "Maybe your mom will," Nightingale muttered. "But Balthazar and Kiza? It feels like I'm just a tool to my parents here. Being royalty just makes me and you nothing more than pawns." "You're a princess, though," Remy said, meeting her gaze. "Isn't that exciting?" Nightingale scoffed. "If you like being cooped up for the rest of your life, being whisked away to a fantasy world should be about this." She gestured at the dark cave around her. "Adventure, danger, monsters, and traps? Now that's exciting." Remy frowned and took another sip from her bowl. Nightingale patted Remy on the back. "Don't sweat it, Remdog. I thought being a princess would be much cooler, too." "Remdog?" Remy grimaced at the moniker. She hoped that wasn't something Nightingale was going to keep calling her. Zeke shifted on his log. "I don't know. It's better than being poor." His eyes flickered toward Rook. "No offense." Rook waved his hand dismissively and kept eating his stew. "But my mom, or should I say Lady Ida Zhang," he spoke her title mockingly, "get past all her bullshit formality and politics, and I think somewhere in there is a heart. I bet your parents are the same, Knight." "I doubt that. I'll be lucky if this isn't the last time I'm in any kind of danger," Nightingale said. "It's not like it's unique to royalty," Rook replied thoughtfully. "My parents here in Middara are just farmers. They're great, but I don't think farming is for me. I'd rather do something a bit more exciting, too." Nightingale made a grunt in agreement, and there was a long pause. Remy looked up and found all 3 of them were looking at her, and she shifted uncomfortably under the weight of their stares. "What about you, Remy?" Nightingale finally asked. "I've heard Zeke complain about his mom 1,000 times, but I've never really talked to you." Remy hesitated, but took a breath. "Well, All I have here is my father, and he is... She looked away. I'm not really sure what kind of person he is. Nightingale raised an eyebrow, but Remy didn't continue. She didn't want them to think less of her. Rook saved her from having to elaborate. We should rest. He set the pot down beside the fire, completely empty. We'll need our strength for tomorrow. Remy slept uneasily in the dark cave, tossing and turning on the uneven stone. The school hadn't given them tents, and their sleeping bags they had been given were threadbare and offered little insulation. From the occasional shifting or grunts she heard in the dark, Remy was fairly sure her new friends were all equally uncomfortable. The next morning, Rook woke her with a gentle nudge and the smell of hot oatmeal. A quick breakfast and a little time to clean up their camp, and they started moving again. I've got a great feeling about today, Nightingale called from the front of the group. She sounded far more awake than Remy felt. So maybe we didn't finish early. That doesn't mean we can't totally own it. I'm sure we will. Zeke walked along beside Nightingale. This left Remy in the rear with Rook, though the corridor was only just wide enough for them to walk abreast. At least the way was mostly straight. She supposed far fewer students would make it through the mast if they were constantly getting lost. They didn't have to go far before the path widened, running along the edge of a dank pond. Remy reached out with one boot touching the side. Water splashed and ripples echoed across the dark surface. They weren't alone. Continue to the mast, Day 2, page 11. And that is the end of the narrative for this, because we are going to move into our actual encounter. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. This narrative is just really fun. I like the way it's written. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell symbol, and don't forget to put anything in the comments below. And if you want to see how the Mass Day 2 progresses, then I need you to meet me at the table.